Welcome to the Roosevelt Center, an arts and culture performance space in Red Lodge, Montana. We're so excited that you're going to join Elizabeth LaRowe to do a short activity today. The Roosevelt Center has artists who do a multitude of different things. We have painters, sculptors, musicians, nonprofits, and more. We're very excited that you're going to take a short activity with Betsy LaRowe, Elizabeth LaRowe, a watercolor artist here at the Roosevelt Center. We invite you to come in, explore the center anytime you're in Red Lodge. Thanks so much.
Hello, my name is Elizabeth LaRowe, and I am an artist, a watercolor artist here at the Roosevelt Center in Red Lodge, Montana. I'm mainly a watercolor artist. I also work with acrylics, and just recently I've started working with water-soluble oils. My main focus in the last few years has been to paint on different surfaces than paper, cotton paper, and I have particularly been interested in creating techniques, finishing techniques, whereby you do not have to have the barrier of glass. I think just being in an area like Red Lodge and the scenery is fantastic. I love the color, light, and once again opening up, hopefully, viewers' eyes to seeing the world in a slightly different way. And today we're going to talk about how you can create all the other colors in the rainbow by just using your yellow, your red, and your blue paint. And here's an example of what we will end up having by the end of our session. You don't need anything special. You can just use a paper plate. You can use crayons, you can use colored pencils, or you could use even food dye if that's what you have. And as far as your brushes and things like that go, just whatever you happen to have in the house will work. We are going to make a color wheel. And the first thing that we're going to need is a paper plate. Now, if you don't have a paper plate, you can just use a plain sheet of paper if you want to, but it's kind of fun to have a round circle because we are making a color wheel. We are going to use paint today because I'm a watercolor painter, but if you don't have any paint, you could use just regular color pencils. We just want to have a yellow, a red, and a blue. If you don't have colored pencils, you could use markers. Again, we want what would be the essential red, yellow, or blue. Watercolors come in oftentimes a little pan, and they're oftentimes Crayola, or that's one of the better brands, Crayola, something like that, that the kids can use at school. And they'll have a series of colors in them, but we don't need those colors, and that's what I want to teach you today. You also may use crayons if you have nothing else. Again, Crayola is a good crayon brand, and we again want just one red, one yellow, and one blue. What we're going to do is learn about the fact that if you don't have any other colors than red, yellow, or blue, you can mix all the other colors in the rainbow by using those three colors. Those are called primary colors. It means they're the first colors. They can't be mixed with nothing can be mixed to make it. You can't mix other colors to make a yellow. It's just a pure color in itself. You can't mix any colors to make a blue. You just have to buy the blue. And the same goes for the red. Now, I used a tube of paint. Watercolor also comes in tubes. I have a yellow, I have a red, and I have a blue. The first thing we're going to do is to take our plate and take just a regular old straight edge, and I'm going to try to divide this into 6 pieces of pie. So I'm just going to take my pencil and go right across this way, and then I will go across this way, just eyeballing it in. It doesn't have to be perfect. And then I will also go across this way. There we go. Now, just for fun, I'm going to go ahead and write the names in here. You don't have to do this, but this is going to be our yellow. This is going to be our red. This is going to be our blue. Now, you will take your paint, if you have it, and I just used a plastic or a paper. This is a paper with a little bit of a finish on it, so it doesn't absorb the color. But I just went ahead and put out a glob of yellow and one of blue and one of red. And I'm going to just take my paintbrush, and by the way, you don't have to have a fancy big paintbrush. You can just have a small one that comes maybe with your kit. Or you can look around the house and see what you have. These happen to be round paintbrushes because I think they're just a little bit easier to work with. Now, when you go to rinse your brush, I want you to take your brush and sort of swish it by rolling around the bottom of your water container. And sometimes it's a little bit easier if you have a fairly wide bottom water container so it doesn't spill. Notice I'm wiping my brush on the edge of the water container. I also have a little paper towel here that I can just take my brush and touch the paper towel. That helps because you don't want to get this water splashed everywhere. It's important to have clean water, so I happen to have 2 containers. But the first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to add a little bit of water to my yellow paint, and then I'm going to go ahead and paint the yellow. Now notice that as I go along the edge of the line, it doesn't have to be perfect, but I'm pulling the paintbrush to me. And here I'm going to take it again, and I can slide it along and push it away from me. You want to do that kind of a motion rather than this kind of a motion, because this way it's harder to be neat. So I'm just going to go ahead, and if I need a little more water, I can get a little more water and get a little more paint. The more paint you use, the darker and richer your color will be. And once again, in this case, it's closer to me, so I'm going to go ahead and pull it towards me. I don't like how that color's looking because it's a little too watery. With watercolor, the more water you use, the less color. I should explain value. Value has to do with how dark or light a color is. If it's a very dark value, then it's lots and lots of color and not very much water. If it's a light value, it's lots and lots of water, not very much color. Now I'm going to go into the blue, and I'm going to try to put a little puddle of blue right next to the blue. Then I think I'll let a little bit of color out of that paintbrush. This paintbrush holds a lot of color, and I'm just going to put the 2 colors together until I come up with a green that I like. Now look how light in value that is. I want some more color in there. I don't want it to be that light. So I'm going to go into the blue again, mix it up. Now I'm noticing that this plate that I'm using has got a little bit of an issue with it wanting to absorb a little bit of water. So it's better if you will get a plate that is maybe not as porous. Not as porous. In other words, maybe one of your kitchen plates, or a plastic. If you still have plastic dishes, that's a good way to go too. Now I've got yellow, I've got my green, and I have my blue. Now I'm going to bring that yellow, make a nice juicy puddle over between the red. I'm going to get a tiny bit more color, water, mix a little more puddle. And again, you don't need to go out and buy a tube of paint. You can just use those little Crayola or school paint sets if you want. There's not a problem with that. Okay, I'm going to go over here and I'm going to go ahead and carefully pull my paintbrush towards me. I'm going to slide along the side between the red. I'm going to dip back into the colors so I don't run out, and I'm going to keep painting this. Now you can also use, you don't have to use watercolor, you can use what we call poster paint or tempera. Now look at this, when you mixed yellow and red together you get orange. Oh my gosh, look at that beautiful violet color. Love it. Okay, got a nice juicy puddle there. I'm going to go ahead and paint this. So now we have painted an awesome color wheel just using 3 colors, red, yellow, and blue. Now you might take this and create something with it. You could, for example, get maybe a straw or a little stick and perhaps poke a hole in there and make some type of a spin wheel type thing. So that is basically a color wheel.